Are we on? Oh, we are on. Excellent. So, good morning to our very, very dedicated audience of three. Thank you for joining us this morning. The headsets do tend to make it easier to hear, so I would recommend them, but see how we get on once we get started. I'm Vanessa Lovett. I currently am the interim head of strategy for FT Live. I'm going to be looking after the stage for today. We have doubled numbers to 6 already. This is awesome. Good morning, Aid. And we are going to get started today promptly with a session that I think means a lot to all of us right now. This is about how important it is to make real-world connections, and that the events, this wonderful sector we work in, has a massive, massive impact on this. In fact, if I look around this room, I know there's 2 people here who I met at events and know that those relationships were built from meetings only through events. So we are in very safe hands today. Slight change of running order, but I'm going to say it's going to be better because 5 people on a panel is tough, and we have 4 people instead, which in my opinion is a much more manageable panel number. So we've got an awesome group today. We have Tomas, who is the Global Director of Event Marketing at Foundry. We also have Dogra, who is the business lead of Streamly at Informa. Really interesting business line. I'm certainly hoping to catch Catherine for a quick extra bit of information afterwards. Iain, Pitt, Managing Director at Clarion Events. And last but by no means least, our moderator for the panel today, which is Matthias, who is Vice President of Marketing at The Grocery Shop. Now, I'm going to briefly introduce Matthias before he then asks the line to go down and introduce themselves. But something that he told me that I think is really quite interesting is that he's been working on AI implementation, but also particularly on AI ethics. So if that's something that interests you, grab Matthias afterwards as well. Over to you.
Well, lovely. Thank you for the introduction. Very excited to be speaking to you today. Let's start with some introductions. So Iain, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Good morning, thank you. So yes, I'm Iain Pitt. I'm one of the MDs at Clarion. So I run our global energy, insurance, life sciences, digital marketing portfolios, and also head up M&A origination in Europe. And just great to see everyone, friends, 1 or 2 people I know, and thanks for making it here. And yeah, looking forward to the session.
Yeah, so I'm Tom Benjamin. I'm Global Director for Events Marketing at Foundry, which is a media company, and it's got an events business which is growing. And yeah, my job mainly is around sponsorship marketing, mainly in commercial marketing, getting sponsors in the doors, driving MQLs to our sales teams, etc.
Hi, I'm Dogra, and I work for Informa PLC. My background's newspapers, magazines, expos, press launches. You name it, I've done it. At the moment, I'm heading up a really exciting new video platform for Informa. So this is on-demand events and curated content video platform called Streamly.
Excellent. So by way of a roadmap for this discussion, we're going to be starting with sort of a discussion of the current landscape with respect to privacy, the changing privacy landscape, as well as digital exhaustion, which I think we all probably relate to in one form or another. We'll talk about the challenges that those pose to getting attendees and sponsors to our events. And then we'll move on to what all of this sort of means for the future of events. I think we're going to have a really great discussion. So let's start with, Iain, let's start with you. Tell us a bit about the sort of changing privacy landscape and how digital marketing is changing and maybe becoming a bit more challenging as a result.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Everyone wants a privacy question to start off with on a Thursday morning, so I really appreciate that. Look, I think we've got to be really honest with ourselves as an industry. I've got kind of 2 overriding thoughts. But before I get into that, there's clearly a change in that pre-2019, pre-bat flu, COVID, whatever you want to call it. Let's just be really honest. There's not many of us here. We're really quite lax about it as an industry, and I think what we have seen increasingly over the last 24 to 36 months is a change. I've got kind of 2 overriding comments. One is the culture previously, I think, was the lowest common denominator. can we get away with it? And I think increasingly, this might sound a bit too corporate, but increasingly people build businesses and events to sell them, which wasn't really the case in the past. You kind of got into it by accident. And so what's the second question we look at as a business, such as our own? Certainly Hive would do this, certainly Inform would do. You know, we look at the numbers, then you start looking at data and privacy. You have to, you've got to go there. So I think that's changed. And then the second thing, and I just on lowest common denominator to highest common denominator, is, you know, I've spent a lot of time in the last 3 weeks in the US, and they're like, yeah, but it doesn't really apply to us. But as global groups, and increasingly we are a global industry more and more, we have to operate at the highest level. So what might be the privacy law when other states are available, Arkansas, isn't what we have to base our decisions on. We have to base it on the highest common denominator, which is GDPR currently, though that is changing in the US, and you can probably talk to that more than me probably. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Hopefully I passed the privacy test.
Yeah, of course. Well, I do think that in the US there is an interesting private movement towards, or sort of corporate movement with, for instance, Apple, you know, really restricting the ability to target and track with our ads. So it isn't just kind of governmental GDPR, et cetera. I don't know how many of you saw the announcement by Gmail and Yahoo last week saying that any organization sending more than 5,000 emails a day has a threshold of a 0.3% spam complaint rate. And if you exceed that, your emails will no longer be delivered to any Gmail or Yahoo address. So for an organization with maybe more than 5,000 emails sent a day, not just marketing, transactional, et cetera, that poses a little bit of a problem. But I want to get Thomas and Catherine your thoughts on what this privacy landscape
I'll jump
means.
in. Basically, Inform is really hot on privacy, and I'm not just saying that. So I'm launching a new product at the moment, and some parts of our launch is even held up because I've got legal on my back. It causes a lot of blockers, it causes a lot of delays, but it's vital. And I'm literally not allowed to step out of the room without making sure that everything is 100%.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because I'm on camera, so I have to be careful. I would say that Foundry is we're a big business, a global business, and I won't lie. I think it was about a couple of months ago where I was on a call, a global call, with our team from APAC and our team from North America talking about GDPR. And I was like, right, okay, cool, maybe we're going to talk about some big things about GDPR, but it started off with just the basics, and people were nodding away. And that really scared me, right? So there's still, and the main reason why is because usually the teams worked in very, it was very decentralized. So the teams are working on events in individual ones, and now we're moving to global events where they're now bringing in attendees from Europe, or even if they're not bringing in attendees from Europe, they're still processing registrations from Europe, even if they're in by accident. Those accidental registrations still need, when they click on the privacy buttons, they still need to be GDPR compliant. So that's what we're going through in Foundry at the moment.
Can I just briefly, I know we're all very excited by privacy chats, but I just, a little bit of an anecdotal, I'm conscious I'm at an event tech show, and I was at the UFI conference in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago where I met a business, I won't remember the name, so let's call them ABC, and ABC Business has cameras, and they've come from retail, and they can identify your face, and the pitch to me was, you can upsell your biggest sponsor by $5,000 euros, and in return we can tell them everyone that's at their stand, and that's great. I mean, whoa, that's exciting. First question I have is, how do you get around privacy? Oh, we're looking into that. And it's a nice anecdotal story, and I could probably show you the LinkedIn message you sent me since, but I'm like, you need to get over that hurdle as a tech provider before I can have a real conversation, because just like we call them the anti-revenue police, also known as in-house counsel, lawyers, they're going to come and chase me out of the office. And so again, I'm conscious I'm on camera and we love the lawyers in our business, but these are genuine concerns of ours. So that's an anecdotal piece where the tech is great, but it's not where the regulation is. And so I don't know how many of you are working for tech companies, but I know it's boring, but you've got to think this stuff through, otherwise we can't touch it.
Yeah, and so the next question maybe just goes without saying, but we can cover it very briefly anyway, what is the challenge to events that's posed by sort of the sea change in privacy, the data that we have access to, et cetera? What's the main challenge that poses to you?
So I'm going to be really brief because I don't want to hog the mic. I'm going to just turn it around to give you a politician's answer. I think GDPR and privacy law is the biggest opportunity we have as an industry, because as it's increasingly difficult for our customers to be able to access data, go and look at the share price of TechTarget, go look at the share price of ZoomInfo. These are businesses that potentially going to have to, I won't say they won't exist because they're my friend the cameraman, but they're certainly going to have to re-engineer what those businesses look like. So our ability to connect is our greatest opportunity. It's our biggest ball ache, but it's also our biggest opportunity as an industry. And it doesn't matter if you're Foundry, Hive, Informer, Reed, whoever. So maybe that's a politician's answer, but I actually think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, it's targeting. I mean, in the US, we had a talk with a US business actually. They run a series of roundtables in the US. Really, really interesting. In Europe and APAC, we're still taking data from our data warehouse, marketing to that data, and getting between 10 and 20 attendees, but we're marketing to thousands of people, right? The US business has completely changed it. They run their events through Cvent, and they basically built an alumni within Cvent, and they effectively just market to that community. But they're very particular about the graphics they use, the senders, etc., so people know to expect to get it from them. And they have something like a 93% return rate. And so all of their attendees for all of their events, 93% have been to another event outside, so of within that community. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Data warehouses becoming CRMs, becoming really tight communities. Community seems like a really old word. We've been talking about communities for such a long time, but honestly, I really think it's going to be reigning true, especially with privacy laws and everything else coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say from our point of view, it's twofold. You've got the obvious marketing challenges, targeting, reaching audiences, but the other side of the coin for us, and for me in particular at the moment, is how we utilize our content. So Streamly Video is all about content, so we have to get speakers' permissions. If we're on a panel, we have to get every single speaker's permission, and then we go into the realms of AI. So I'm starting to look at using AI to repurpose all of our global content. I have to get permissions for that too. So it's all very well, I say AI is the emperor's new clothing sometimes. Everybody's going AI, but if you haven't got the right permissions and you haven't got the right privacy in place, you can't do it. So it's really real challenge for us.
I was wondering how long it was going to take for someone to say AI. 14 minutes. So
Not bad. Yeah, well, someone will say it again, certainly. So we're going to move on to digital exhaustion briefly, but I don't know if there are any questions up there. Please do submit questions. A couple? Great. Give us hard ones. Really push. Force us to give some uncomfortable answers. I would like that.
I'm just going to briefly interrupt you. Do scan that QR code because you can send your questions in as well. We've definitely got one that's come in already. So as Matthias said, do use the QR code and we will come to them at the end. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I will sort of, I guess, set the context around digital exhaustion. The average screen time in America is 7 hours every day. I saw some heads shaking in disappointment. Right, it's rough. So, show of hands, how many of you personally, as an individual, want to spend or aspire to spend less time on screens every day? Most hands. How many of you would aspire to spend less time in your email inbox? Okay, most. How many of you read every email? A couple of hands. Wow. All right, my hand is not going up. Too much spam. So there's this strange kind of context where we're spending more and more time on screens and sort of hating every minute of it to a degree, or at least some of us are. I know that I walk around with almost a digital headache half of my days because of the amount of screen time that I have. But I think that there's kind of an additional layer of context here when we talk about digital exhaustion, and it's sort of more of a big picture idea, which is that in some sense, I think that our lives have become a bit derivative, which is to say that I'm a nature lover, but I probably spend more time watching videos of nature on Instagram than I do being out in the woods, which I really enjoy. And so we're sort of interacting with the representation of the thing instead of the thing itself. And now when you add AI into that, now you have a sort of statistical average re-representation of the thing, which so much of our content will be going forward, right? And I'm sure you're all seeing it. You're seeing the AI-generated LinkedIn comments, the AI-generated video ads, etc. And so that's the context of digital exhaustion that I think is fascinating, right? We're spending more time, but getting less satisfaction, and there's a small segment that are beginning to opt out. And so I guess my question to the panel is, what challenge might that increased opting out mean for our digital efforts? And then is there what's the opportunity for live events with that digital opt-out, that wave that I think is coming as AI-generated content just becomes ubiquitous? So I'll open it up.
Yeah, do you want me to go?
Go on, please.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why we launched Streamly. So at the beginning, we were filming everything through COVID. We had to, yeah? We couldn't do this. Then, 2 years on, we've launched this video platform. We're not filming everything all the time. We're filming what you want to see. So when you come to an expo like this or a bigger one, you can't get around the floor, you can't see all the sessions you want, you can't meet all the people you want to meet, so you watch it on demand with Streamly. But we're only doing that when we know they're going to watch it, when they want that digital experience. We did a lot of research into this, and we found that people will watch content, but only if it's laser relevant to them. And we still see dwell times on our site of like 17, 20 minutes. We see our life sciences people poring over those videos again and again and again. On the other hand, we're not filming our super return events to our investors because they just want to go to Berlin and network. So it's all about getting the digital and live experiences matched up and making sure you know your audience really well. And then they will not be exhausted by your content. But don't just flog a dead horse. Don't just give badly targeted content out to all of your audiences, because then, yeah, they're not going to watch it, are they?
Yeah, it's so interesting. We're talking about, we were talking about communities and making sure you own that communities. Loyalty is more important than ever, as far as I'm concerned. And I listened to this really interesting talk the other day where they were talking about now that while loyalty becomes more and more important, it only takes one thing that you do to lose that loyalty. You're talking about the margins of error on Gmail and Yahoo. There's loads of margin of error out there. All it takes is for you to put something into Gen AI, produce 16, 17 pieces of content, put it out to your market en masse, and see massive unsubscribes and find it really hard to get those back. AI shouldn't be looked at as a way to just generate tons and tons of information. It's a convenience tool. It's a way of turning one social media post into 5 social media posts maybe. It's a way of rewording some particular content to go to a particular market, but it doesn't take away the power of the marketer, understanding the VP, understanding why people turn up to your events in the first place, and really, really honing on that. I think the big thing that I've learned over the last year is the term return on time. The return on time is a really, really important thing. Making sure that you hone the product. You understand what the product means to the audience. Honing in on that and making sure all the communications are really focused on it.
So I just want to segue from a few of the comments. I think it's a little bit playing with language, but we call them networks, not communities. I also don't like the word community. No one says they're part of a community. They say they're part of, I am a fan of this football team. They never say they're a community. So again, playing with language. But we talk about affinity, which is loyalty, but it's an emotional attachment. And talk about time. We define a network as a narrowly defined niche to our American colleagues that is reciprocated times time. And that's the equation that we look at all our networks, communities through. And I think that to come back to the point about, I think, content and digital exhaustion, where we as industry, and we have to be really honest, again, I think as event industries, we've got it wrong, is we spend too much time trying to do news. We're not in the business of news, we're in the business of content. And again, I just want to really stress this point. If you want to play news, you're going to lose to Reuters, you're going to lose to Bloomberg. If you're the largest business out there in our space, Informa, you absolutely can play there. But even they'll be the first to admit they're not trying to play everywhere. And you can see that with some of the disposals they've made over the last 3 to 4 years. You've got to pick your battles, build an affinity, and we can win in this space. And my only other little segue is, because Ingo are sponsoring this, Bianca, I do answer your emails, and I just seen you in the audience, so I feel the need to say that.
So I'm going to push back a bit on the whole theme here, because I'm stepping in as moderator and I get to do that now. I think community is great. Retention is excellent. But as event leaders, we're on the hook for growth, right? And I'm in marketing, and I know that the easy answer to growth, sort of the merry-go-round that we go around every year, is, okay, how do we target better lists? How do we do list building? How do we do lead generation, right? How do we send more emails? Those are exactly the avenues. Those are the doors that are being slammed in our face and will be slammed in our face even more. So retention is great for the community. How do you grow?
I mean, I'll say we grow by using our video platform. It's exactly that. It's a continuous circle. So we engage our existing audiences, and I don't want to go too marketing speak here, but we do. We engage our existing audiences outside of the live event they want, but we're also bringing in new audiences. I've got a 22-year-old son. Does he want to come to an event? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he will one day, maybe he won't the next day. So how are we going to engage him? We're going to engage him with carefully curated, SEO-driven content that he finds he wants to watch and brings him closer to our event or one of our other product experiences. It's not just about an event or a video anymore. It's about, what does Tomas, Iain, what do you want to watch, Matthias? When do you want to watch it? And how are we going to serve it to you? So that's the path that Informa are on. We're not in just an event world anymore. We're in a 365 digital world.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I mean, I think data warehouses and mass emailing and data building and all of that stuff still has a massive part to play. I suppose my main thing is just is honing in on retention as a more important channel than ever. That's my big thing. I think that all the other things still have a part to play. Filling up the pot in a sense with attendees and interactions. But it's really important to work on keeping those. And I think a way of keeping those is partly delivering a really, really good product and a really predictable product that they know what they're going to get time and time again.
I'll just hop in briefly, because I think that on the topic of retention and loyal audiences, and this is a bit of a nod to the sponsor of the stage, is better and better approaches to advocacy, right? So you have some core of your audience, if you're running a good show, are ready to be ambassadors for your brand. And so finding a scaled solution to do that is very, very important. That's something that Ingo does very well. There's some other solution providers as well. But I want to let you answer the question as well.
Well, I just to add a couple of comments. One, I think two things can be right at the same time. So community network models can be right for certain industries. You've done a really good job at Hive, with your own business. As an example of that, where you've really built an affinity to the brand in a very short space of time. It's interesting. I'm trying to do a record this week. It's my third event of the week, and I've got 2 more to go. So yesterday, you're lovely, but I'm next to Lake Como, and it's all very, very beautiful. And I'm answering in-mails in LinkedIn. And I commented to my head of marketing, went, this is funny, I haven't answered any work emails today. Why am I in in-mail? Why have I got an attachment to this? We don't even own this. I wish we did. And it's interesting, isn't it? There's a shift. And probably then, you're on your phones, as we all are, and I'm not making a call of that, but you're probably on Teams, you're probably on WhatsApp. If you're from Asia, you're on WeChat. If you're in America, you might not even know what WhatsApp is. You're on email, you're on your personal email, you're on 5 devices. We've just got to be really conscious of what that is. But when I say 2 things can be right at the same time, I think let's just accept that some markets, and this is, I think, another dirty secret, some markets have just gone back to normal. No matter how many consulting groups tell me customers want X, Y, and Z, and they want this digital thing. I was at an insurance event, the largest in the US 2 weeks ago, and it's not the same market as it is for my digital marketing portfolio, where they do, it's an easy one to go to because they naturally levitate to wanting digital assets. And that's very different to my energy market. And even in the energy market, the renewable side of it, they're very happy to go into digital assets. The good old-fashioned oil and gas brigade, not interested. For them, it's a good old-fashioned sourcing and selling show. Content, yeah, we don't really care. We might read the FT. We might read the equivalent in our country. So I think 2 things can be right at the same time. And we as businesses, particularly broader church businesses, just need to be mindful that what works in retail, what works in life sciences might not work in another sector. And not try and have this kind of uniform approach. But yeah.
And also not trying to force it, right? If you run an event and you've got, it's a buyer's event, so it's, real buyers and sellers and people going to exhibitors and making deal on spot, and you've got a content stream which is not bringing any people, you have to have that meeting and say, do we still do this? Is this the way that we need to deliver for it? Don't just stick to normal, do something different. I've worked in a lot of event businesses where you have a really, really exciting event because of one thing. They do this other thing, which kind of detracts away from the brand. Just drop that and focus on what you do. That's what I'm talking about in terms of return on time, really creating a product that matters and just focusing on that. And if you do, then everything else in terms of network or loyalty kind of just writes itself.
I'd say as well, rely on your data and have those difficult conversations. We've all been there. We've all been to these post-event meetings. We're absolutely forensic about those post-show meetings. They come in with their numbers, they're expected to come in with their numbers, and we go through it and we challenge and we push, and exactly that. Something's not working and in fact detracting from the brand. Why are we doing it and we won't do it again?
Yeah, well, there's the opportunity cost as well, right? Of what you could be doing to deepen the winning experiences. So I'm relatively new to Grocery Shop. I can take zero credit for how great of a brand Grocery Shop has. I've been at Hive for maybe 4 months. But one of the things that I really like about the Shop Talk Grocery Shop team's approach to the value prop for the show is it's laser focused on like the 2 or 3 things that the show does really well, and all of the energy and input goes into making those experiences really special. And the customer feed, we have a Slack channel for, just customer feedback, happy customers, etc. And to see that the Slack chat just going, wild through events of people sending emails saying this is such a great experience, etc. I think it's a testament to that laser focus of what do we do well, what do we know our customers want, what are the little bets we can make, but never straying too far from kind of the core of the value prop.
And you mentioned the most important word, customers. What do your customers want? Because if you don't give them what they want, you're dead in the water, basically. And that's what we focus on. Are we customer-centric? Have we got every single part of this customer journey right? And amazingly, we ask our customers to constantly what we're doing and are we doing it right and was it interesting, and did it give them some value? We had a preparation call for this, and the first thing we all said is, what do our customers want to hear at this session, and will it be of value to them? And I hope you tell us afterwards so that we get it better and right next time, or we did a great job. That's so important.
No, it's just so interesting. Now, we had this conversation a good few months ago now. I was in a meeting with a senior person in our organization, and we're talking about customers. And I was talking about customers, and he was talking about customers. And I realized he wasn't talking about the same customers as I was. He was talking about sponsors and exhibitors, where the cash comes from, right? Because we run free to attend events. I was talking about attendees. When I explained I was talking about attendees, really confused him. Like, you took their customers just because they turn up for free. You know, you are this event's product, right? Attendees are our product. That's what we sell. So it's really changing the narrative on that too. Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, our approach outside of our retail shows is our attendees are our buyers. And I think if you want a show to die as quickly as possible, do it the other way around. There's lots of examples over the last 2 decades of that. I just think, this might sound the most corporate thing, so apologies. But I think we also need to look at our internal customers, and specifically our marketing teams. Now, I don't know if any of you have a marketing background or are in the space of MarTech within event tech. I do sometimes look at our marketing teams and really feel sorry for them, because what are they meant to be? Are they meant to be industry experts? Are they meant to be SEO experts? Are they meant to be ChatGPT Bard experts? Are they meant to be the latest copywriters? Oh God, but you must understand AI. Oh, by the way, don't screw up on the data, otherwise the anti-revenue police are coming. Like, they have the hardest job. And I think as an industry, and I appreciate not everyone here is from commercial operators, there might be some corporate event organisers here, but in terms of commercial operators such as ourselves, as the people on the stage primarily, I do think that's the hardest job. Like, what is it do we want our marketing teams to be in this new world? And I think there has to be a moment where we just need to decide fundamentally whether we change our teams to, you know, is it generalist, is it specialist? And we always dabble, but I happen to be married to a head of marketing of a company in this space as well. And, you know, they're rather large, I won't give away her name, but they have the same issues. So I imagine, you know, we all have the same issues. What do we want our marketing people to be in this new paradigm, if we can say something as grandiose as that?
Can I answer this? So I'm a marketer, and I'm a leader of marketers. I think that marketing is going to have a renaissance. I think essentially empowered by AI, and I'll give a really specific example of what that kind of looks like. So I joined Hive right before we ran Grocery Shop, and I was on paternity leave when ChatGPT 3.5 came out in November of last year, so I spent 2 months spending a lot of time investigating that technology and building a competence. And after Grocery Shop ran, we ran a little bit of a test. So I wanted to understand if we could scale a content approach really quickly using ChatGPT. So what we did was we took one of the keynotes from our show, we mapped out a process before executing anything, and said, at how many points can we use AI in a way that's responsible and maintains quality, and come out with really polished content marketing. So we took a 20-minute keynote, had it AI transcribed, took the AI transcription, dropped it into ChatGPT, had it summarized, ran the summary by our content team to make sure it was spot on, turned that into a content marketing email with some bullet pointed takeaways, built an email ready to deploy in about 90 minutes. Took that, went back to the transcript, asked for the most poignant 30-second clip in that transcript, got it out of ChatGPT, snagged that part, clipped that part of the video for a LinkedIn post, wrote the LinkedIn post, ran all of that by the content team, had it all approved and out the door in 2 hours. Now, that's something, thank you, that's something that would not have been possible a year and a half ago, just from a time standpoint. It's to rewatch the keynote, to get agreement on what the takeaways are, right? To find what the best clip is, agree on it, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this scale that when it's done really well and thoughtfully, I think is going to be great, but at the same time, it's going to add to the noise, right? And this is, so that's the conundrum, is there's this wave coming of highly personalized content, hopefully better. I think the better content is just going to eat the bad content. Like, it's just, that content's just going to be gone in a year. But we'll still be potentially in this sort of dystopian future where we're inundated with you know, unbelievably personalized great content. And so where is the competition? So we're at 10 minutes. I want to make sure we get some questions. Tom and Catherine, do you want to just pop in briefly and then we can go to questions? I'll pop the headphones on.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to agree. I mean, I've been a marketing leader for many years now, and I recruit and I advise our global teams on marketing recruitment. And marketers need to be generalists, and the qualities I look for, going a bit off topic here, but is someone who can adapt and change, highly organised, highly operational, highly data driven, and not scared of getting things wrong, not scared of learning. And then that's the marketer of the future. It's not a SEO person. You use agencies for that stuff, and it's about knowing when to put your hand up and say, no, I can't do that. I need an agency, but I can do the rest.
No, you said it all. I think I was just pointing out from everything that you just said, you know, that the important person in that was the marketer, right? It wasn't the technology. The technology was allowing you to work smarter, right? But the content marketer, the marketer is the gatekeeper. You understand the VP, you understand why people attend your events. Like, you can't take that out. You know, AI is not a way to change everything you do. It's a way of working smarter, not harder.
Okay, questions.
We do have some questions that have come in already, and I will take one from the screen to start with, and then if any of you have any that you'd like to verbally ask. This has had 2 votes, so we're going to go with this one first. It's for you, Catherine. Please could Catherine share how she feels that video on demand content helps to build relationships in the real world?
So question for Catherine. How can video on demand help build relationships in the real world?
Yeah, it's a good question, great question. So video on demand, actually, we've had a lot of people coming up when we've been at our events. So again, the mix of digital and events, promoting Streamly and saying activate your on demand, look at our curated content. They've been taking it back to their offices for learning. So they've been doing, learning's becoming a really important part of Streamly. I can say that because it's out there now. We've built it. We're 2 years ahead of the rest. So, you know, so yeah, it's a perfect mix of on-demand and real-life experiences and digital experiences. We're seeing it. It's the actual lifeblood of Streamly. That's what it's all about.
So it's really extending that 365 contact point that people are taking it both with them to the event, but also back after they've gone
100%.
to an event as well. Thank you. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask verbally? Because I can come to you with the microphone. No, we have plenty more questions. So next one, let's go with this. This is an open question, not to an individual. What exactly, in your opinion, is the difference between content and news? This one really caught my eye because I currently work at the Financial Times. And what do you recommend to event owners in this regard?
I guess I set myself up for failure here with that comment, didn't I? Look, I think content, first of all, and news, what is the difference? Well, we're not trying to be in real time. We're not trying to be in the moment. That doesn't mean we can't reference news quite clearly. I think the way I'll answer the question is what is content? And I think what is content to us? You know, as an industry, where are we better than publishing? Why is publishing, you know, destroyed shareholder value for the last 20 years, and events are some of the biggest, most successful British businesses, most successful businesses on the FTSE 100 over the last 2 decades, the same period of time. And it's our ability to connect. So what we see content as is the ability to promote the individuals, specifically the individuals within those organizations and those industries. That's how we see content, because we believe we can do that better than anyone else, because we can, A, create that content, B, we can see who's reading that content. We can use great platforms if you white label it to us like Streamly, and then what we're able to do, we can talk about that. But and then what we're able to do afterwards is through companies such as your own is use event tech, badges, NFC, RFID, the phone apps to be able to make those connections on site. So we see it as a horrible Americanism, which I'm going to now use, unfortunately, is a flywheel approach, where so we see content as connections. And we see news as just being real-time based content, if you will. I don't know if that's an answer.
I'd love to add something else onto that as well. Agree with everything you've said, Iain. News is not commercial, I think, is what I would add onto that. And certainly in the Financial Times, nothing will influence the editor's decision to write whatever they feel is appropriate to write. And there's a real life example of that. We had a sponsor due to sign a really quite significant contract, and on the same day that they were going to sign it, one of the editors published an incredibly damning article And guess what? They didn't sign it. And this is the reality of working and running commercial events in a news organisation, that sometimes the news that we publish affects our commercial impact. Interestingly, that sponsor did then sign the contract a month later, because they reminded themselves of the integrity of the brand, and that's one of the reasons that they wanted to be involved. But yes, it had us all on the edge of our seats and tearing our hair out. So I think that's not to suggest that events don't have integrity also, I will add to that, but they don't have, the news isn't commercial, I think is what I would say from my current experience.
Should we take one more? One more question?
Let's. Well, there are two. Let's see how we go with the first one, because this could be short. Catherine, also for you, you are popular. How do you know what people want to watch? So what research did you carry out to work this out when you were referring to the identifying which events it was worth doing more video on compared to other events where it was less worth doing video on? What did you do to work that out?
Yeah, that's sort of two questions, isn't it? So how did we find out what content we knew people wanted to watch on Streamly, on the on the events on demand? So if you look at streamly.video, you can look at the site, register for free, have a look. So you'll see there's these categories. We actually researched what types of content are you currently looking for and not finding. And we looked across several different use cases, case studies, how-tos, loads of them. And it was surprisingly, you'll find this interesting, Iain, across all of our verticals are going, it would be really different for us. We're different. It was the same, apart from one really weird anomaly in real estate, which was very particular to that industry. They wanted the same types of content. And across the board, they all wanted content that they couldn't find anywhere else. But they didn't, they were saying, yeah, we find it. We find a bit there. We find a bit, it's not great. I can't do anything with it. That was the surprise. We found out people wanted to do something with that content after they'd read it. They wanted to know what was in that content before they read it. They wanted to know who the expert was. So we actually researched very carefully what they did, and then I went and hired the head of BBC Video. She's my editor, and she builds out that content with her team. And I've forgotten the second part of the question. Oh, the events. As I said at the beginning, we don't film them all anymore, because to what the rest of the panel have said, why would we film something when they're just going there to network? Why would we put our marketers' time and energy, my commercial leads' time and energy into selling sponsorship on that video if it's not going to be watched? So it's all down to the analytics. What are people watching? How many people are activating their accounts? We only film and market those events on demand.
Great, thank you. How are we doing on time? We've got 2 minutes.
We've got 2 minutes, so one more.
This is a chunky one, though. How do you address the negative effects of AI?
How do you address the negative effects of AI? I would like to take a brief swing at this question with a practical example. So we were looking at how AI could improve our sales copy. And there's 3 options. Hire a writing consultant, a copywriting consultant, to come in and go on the whiteboard and give us some framework and do some training. Probably not going to happen. Have an AI write our sales copy and maybe do a decent job. Or create a custom AI tool that teaches our sales team to write better copy. This is something that would be you'd need a developer to do about 8 days ago. But 7 days ago, ChatGPT released something called Custom GPT, which allows you to train an agent, essentially, for a specific task. And so what we've done is, or what I'm building at the moment, is a copy consultant that has some ethical principles embedded. So one is, it refuses to write copy for you. It will only provide suggestions on making your copy stronger and the argumentation better. So if you ask, it'll just say, nope, not going to do that. Ethical principle number 2, it will maintain the tone and style of the writer. So it doesn't provide edits that sort of homogenize a tone. It maintains the tone of whatever copy that individual sales rep has put into it. So the short answer to the question, I think, is you have to consider every AI use case individually and ask the questions, what kind of world do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a world where our sales reps are the copy and pasters into Outlook of AI copy? or where we don't know our coworkers anymore because we're all just generating emails with Copilot. That's not a world I want to live in. But you have to ask those questions on an individual basis. We're probably close, but are there any other thoughts on this?
I mean, you could get McKinsey in, who charge you a lot of money and they tell you what to do, which clearly might be a strategy we've deployed. But I just want to, conscious of time, my little soundbite, and I would ask anyone to speak to yourself on AI. I know this is your sweet spot, certainly more than mine. But let's just remember the lessons we learned for the last 4 years. No one's going to go back to events. No one's going to travel. Boeing and Airbus have record orders. People want to meet face to face more than ever. The human connection piece, and meeting and seeing and breathing the same air, hopefully good air. That's what we sell, right? Go and look. I'm getting a little bit older now. Growing up, there was Leeds, Reading, Glastonbury Festival. There's now 40 festivals for our kids. Like, people want to connect more than ever, and there's almost the irony, the contradiction, as the tech gets more embedded, we want human connection more than ever. I see AI as something that can solve loads of problems for us, particularly small to medium-sized businesses who for years have wanted to do content but can't compete with, the larger brethren in the industry. So this is an opportunity, and let's see in a year from now whether I'm wrong. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not here and it's a bot, but hopefully I'm here.
An Iain-shaped bot. We are going to close the session now. Thank you so much to our 4 panelists. Really fascinating intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.